Looking to add some serious distance to your game? You can win a Callaway Quantum Driver. Check out our contest page now to enter. That's thanks to Grandview Lodge. Go to KFAN.com, keyword contest to sign up today.
It's like, hello?
Oh, sorry, my bad. It's a good thing I only warmed up one of my items because I knew I wasn't going to have enough time. So here was my choice. Do I warm up the seasoned ground beef and sweet potato that I'm about to mix an avocado and cottage cheese into? I forgot the hot honey. Oh! No! Or do I heat up the peas? I did the seasoned ground beef and the sweet potatoes. That's for lunch today. Let's go ahead and let's take a break. Come back and let me finish my lunch. No, it's time now for 5, 3, 4.
Time now for 5 questions. Well, actually 3, but 5 sounds like more than 4. Brought to you by Willow River Company. Question number 1.
It's now time to take an in-depth look at the welfare of the Wolves.
It's official for the third time in 4 seasons. The Timberwolves will face the Denver Nuggets in the playoffs. The Nuggets clinched the number 3 seed last night when they beat the Spurs 128-118. Denver finished the season on a 12-game winning streak. Game 1 of the series will be at 2:30 p.m. Saturday in Denver. Common, how do you feel about the Wolves-Nuggets matchup?
Did we want L.A. instead? Because Doncic, he's not coming back, is he? Or
well,
maybe?
I saw something today because he apparently went across the pond to get some sort of medical, I don't know if you want to call it a procedure.
Okay.
And it sounds like they're hoping he'll be back at some point in the first round, but maybe not to begin the series.
Yeah. And
they also are without Austin Reeves.
Yeah, I mean, that's basically...
so that would have been
that's like playing 5-on-3, right? Basically, it's like playing 5-on-3. So we get Denver instead, and
well, in the last 2 games, Denver was playing a lot of their scrubs. So a lot of Wolves fans thought, "Wow, they're trying to tank because they're trying to avoid the Wolves."
Well, I also think that there were. I read. I think it was maybe in the Athletic. They do a point counterpoint. Johnny Krasinski, who covers the Wolves, and then whoever his guy that does the same beat writer for Denver, and they go the back and forth and talk about the teams. I was going to we'll look at it a little further as the show goes on, but I could have swore it said that Denver's also had some injury problems. So they're resting guys too a little bit, not even so much because of a tank, but also because everybody, we've got Ant, we've got McDaniel, we got Naz Reid, we've had guys that have got bumps and bruises, and apparently Denver has a number of those as well. What the Athletic guy pointed out, we'll take a closer look at that, is this season, Joker's been dominant against the Wolves. Dominant. The numbers, he gets like a triple-double every time he plays him. Of course, he does that against a lot of teams, but, I would think it should be a good series. I don't know if I would say, Wolves can't win this one or Denver's got no chance. I think it should be good. It'll go 6 or 7, probably 7, right? Matter of fact, I think Krasinski thought Wolves in 7, and his counterpart said Denver in 6. They're both Ducky and Bunny it up for the hometown clubs. But, I don't know. It should be good. To me, it's like the Wolves, and Krasinski says it in the piece, and it's almost like and he didn't, I don't know if he wrote it this way, but it same point was almost like the Wolves just looked at the regular season as just an annoyance. Like, why do we have to do this? Why can't we just go to the playoffs? That's the way they kind of treated the regular season, I think. But they got their 6th seed, and they're there. And can they flip a switch? We'll find out. If how Ant goes, pretty much so the team goes. So yeah, I'm cautiously optimistic. I certainly don't think they have to fear Denver, but I also don't think they can overlook them either. So sure.
Question number 2.
Time now for an in-depth look at the state of hockey.
Jesper Wallstedt made 20 saves as the Wild lost to the Predators 2-1 Saturday in Nashville. And he might made the goaltending decision for Game 1 for John Hines a little more difficult. Philip Gustafsson faced Dallas in the postseason 3 years ago, didn't give up more than 3 goals in any of his 5 appearances. His career save percentage in the playoffs is .917. But Wallstedt has been sharper lately. Well, Gustafsson has given up at least 4 goals in 4 of his past 5 starts. Wallstedt hasn't surrendered more than 2 in his past 5. Common, who would you start Game 1, Gus Bus or the Wall of St. Paul?
I put more stock into, even though things can turn on a dime, you hear me say that all the time in sports. Just because something hasn't happened doesn't mean the opposite can't happen. And just because something has never happened doesn't mean it can't. But what did you say? Somebody against Dallas in the
Gus Bus.
And that was how many years ago?
3 years ago.
That's meaningless. To me, meaningless with what's going to happen coming up. But what's happened in the past couple of games, week or two, month or so does mean something. And so far, you say the best, the most consistent, the better goalie has been who over the past?
In recent times,
Yes.
it's been Wallstedt. He's been better.
Then I'm a hot hand guy. I would go with Wallstedt, and I unless you can convince me, I go with the hot hand. Or unless you want to try to convince me why the team should go with them.
It seems like the argument for Gus Bus is he's had playoff experience, and it's kind of like, well, great, but it's not like he's been awesome in the playoffs. He's been fine. He's been a quality goalie in the playoffs. He hasn't been the reason we've lost. But it's not like he's out there stealing games. We're getting to the Western Conference Finals Stanley Cup with him, right? Like when we had the Marc-Andre Fleury, Cam Talbot debate a couple of years ago, and everyone got mad that they started Flower in Game 1. I understood that. The guy's won a Stanley Cup. Like he's clearly is capable of performing at the biggest stage. But now the argument is being used as, well, Gus has the experience. Well, this is because Wallstedt's not old enough and hasn't.
Right, exactly.
And he can't get experience unless you put him in there. And I'm fine with Gus Bus. I think they can win with Gus Bus. I just don't think Gus Bus, I don't think he'll be the one winning you games. He'll be the one just making the saves he's supposed to make, and if you're playing well enough around him, you can win games. Whereas I think Wallstedt's still got a higher ceiling. And given he's playing better, I'm sorry, I feel more confident with Wallstedt in the net.
And then we agree. And
so I would go him.
And maybe for different reasons, but I'm going because of he's had the hotter hand lately. And to piggyback on your experience thing, I'm not saying it doesn't make some difference, but once they drop the puck and the game's being played, I would hope that the entire time the goaltender's not going, this is the playoffs. It just becomes a game at that point. You know, the stakes are high, but the stakes are high and so am I. It's in the air tonight. It's a free-for-all. That's going to affect every player who's never been in postseason before. Now they are in it. So I think that's a little overrated.
But he might thrive in it, too.
And he might thrive in it. That's exactly
we don't know.
right. So
just because he hasn't done it doesn't mean he's going to be just scared of it and like, oh, no.
Correct. And I don't think, like I say, once the puck drop and the action starts, I don't think that it's like we talk about when they talk about, is so-and-so's contract a distraction to the rest of the club? Like the guy standing on the line, the right guard has got his hand on it going, God, I wonder if JJ is going to sign that contract. He's not thinking about that. He's thinking about what's happening right at the moment. So I think it's a little overrated.
And judging by his personality, Wallstedt, he doesn't seem like the kind of guy who's going to be chattering his teeth come playoff time. He doesn't give out that vibe as a goaltender.
If you want to win it all, you go with the Wall of St. Paul.
If you want to win it all, you go with the Wall of St. Paul. Quickie?
Yeah, sure.
Question number 3.
We're gonna win, Twins, we're gonna score.
It's now time to delve deep into Twins territory.
Crack out a home.
Well, we're going to delve deep.
Hooray! Cheer for the Minnesota Twins today.
Apparently the Twins just love facing ace pitchers because they had no issues with Max Scherzer in an 8-2 win over the Blue Jays yesterday in Toronto. Tristan Gray hit a 3-run homer. Cody Clemens hit a solo shot. Brooks Lee had a 2-run double as they scored 8 runs on Scherzer in 2 1/3 innings. His highest total in a game since he gave up 10 runs to the Royals back in 2014. Twins have won 6 of their past 7 games. They're 9-7 and are now tied for the best record in the American League. Common, your thoughts?
What was the pitcher's name again?
Max Scherzer.
I think Max Scherzer's done. Not only is he not the best pitcher in baseball, he's not even the best pitcher on the Toronto staff. That would be your guy, Tim Gullickson.
Who?
I don't know. What was your question or exact
I just
question?
said your thoughts.
I talked about it at the very beginning of the program today. I was busy homing in on the cheap shots for the Twins all season long. Oh, we had when we came up with one. You know, there's this. Have you heard about the 9 challenge in Major League Baseball? Tend to be what you're supposed to do is eat 9 hot dogs, drink 9 beers, and then watch 9 innings of a baseball game in the park while doing so. And boy, the thought of consuming 9 innings of Twins baseball makes me want to get sick. If that's the way the joke goes. I don't remember, but now it's there. Hey, it's early. 9-7, best record in baseball. Tied with the Guardians for first place in the Central. Enjoy it while you can, because it might not last forever, but it looks pretty good right now.
And that's it for today's edition of 5 Questions. Well, actually 3 questions, but 5 sounds like more than 4.
Presented by Willow River Company and the Willow River Experience. Don't just maintain your property, experience it all with the Willow River Experience monthly prescription plan. You can boondelay 5 core services, maybe 3 seasonal upgrades, and 4 custom add-ons. You can do it into one simple plan. Visit willowriverexperience.com today to build your 5-3-4 experience. More controversial Vikings news on the other side of the comment program on the Fan.
The radio home of Minnesota sports is also on YouTube. Check out the KFAN YouTube channel for exclusive videos, in-depth takes, initials, and password games, and behind-the-scenes content. Search KFAN on YouTube and hit subscribe today.
Cottage cheese. You've never even tasted cottage cheese, have you?
I think I did when I was a kid.
Sweet potatoes?
I've had sweet potatoes.
You like them?
They're doable. They're not as good as potatoes.
How about
anything healthier is just not as good.
How about seasoned ground beef?
Well, yeah, that's terrific.
Avocados you don't like though.
Avocados are just meh.
And then do you like hot honey? It's got a lot of some peppers in it. Dude, somebody in Kara says she eats this all the time too. I hear that it's all the rage. I don't know if it's like been all the rage for a day, a month, a week, a couple of years, but it's seasoned ground beef with sweet potatoes, cottage cheese, and avocado with hot honey on it.
You'll eat right through the grill?
Well, put it this way. Death row, and they say, what's your last meal? I say, I want cottage cheese mixed with sweet potato, avocado, and a seasoned ground beef with a little hot honey on the top. Then for dessert, we know Rosen would have a French silk pie, and he would have it from Perkins. If I can get a real fresh, real honest-to-goodness banana cream pie, that's what I'm having for dessert. But knowing I'm going to death row, I don't think I have much of an appetite anyway, so I don't even know how they do it. I'd tell them just bread and water, thank you. So Twins lose 10-4 to Toronto on Friday.
Yeah, if I knew I was getting the chair in 10 minutes, I'd have a hard time eating.
Yeah, it wouldn't do it. It didn't do much for me. Or you get something that takes a really long time to cook. I want turkey. Well, it takes about 8 hours. Yeah, I know. That's what I want.
Put it in the crock pot.
Twins lose. They get clobbered on Friday, but Saturday, they win 7-4 against Toronto. Ryan Sharp again. He gave up, I think, a 2-run home run early in the first inning. Then he dominated after that. How about these numbers for JoJo? He yielded 2 hits and 2 runs in a season-high 5 innings. That's it. That was his entire time. Larnach says here, rarely starts against left-handed pitching, accumulating 2 plate appearances against them through the first 14 games of the season. Faced lefties here, and he hit a 3-run home run. And they go after. The whole lineup played well. Brooks Lee opened the second inning with a solo home run. Byron Buxton reached on an infield single. Austin Martin lined a single to left. Twins loaded the bases, scored the tying run on a bases-loaded 4-pitch walk to Ryan Jeffers. Josh Bell followed with a fly ball that dropped into center field for a 2-run single. And Toronto center fielder was lined up too deep to make a play on the ball. 2 batters later, Larnach broke the game open with that 3-run home run. And, the reason I read this piece from the Fish Wrap Factory West Side is sure there's a lot of guys contributing, That's generally your best results are when top to bottom. It's not that every guy's going 3 for 3 or 4 for 4. Otherwise, the game would never stop. But, but when you have more than just 2 or 3 guys carrying the lineup, when you have a lot of guys you can depend upon, it's just so good. And then the Taj, what's his name? Bradley kid?
Yeah.
Now that's yesterday. He was on the mound. And I don't think he was quite as...
Yesterday was his worst outing,
right.
even though he was still fine.
Exactly, yeah. He didn't pitch as well.
He just set the bar so high the first 3 starts.
That's it.
Yeah.
And it says here, let me dial up the gamer here. On the Tristan Gray guy. Now, that's one of those cool stories for the Twins. We talked about him last week. If I'm not mistaken, he was the last player to be told you're on the team. He was the last guy to make the roster, right? And he's kind of bounced around the league a little bit, and he's never really been, he's been all right. That's why he's bounced around the league. That's why he's the last player that is named to the roster. And he's had a really nice start to the season. We talked about him last week. He had a key hit or 2. And then after we just talked about how they beat up on Scherzer, Scherzer had what's described as a 12-pitch clean first inning. The Twins offense concocted a second inning rally that started with a walk and a hit batter. 2 batters later, Gray drove an inside cutter to the right field seats for a 3-run home run. Gray, the last position player to make the Twins on the opening day roster. He's tallied 11 RBI in 8 games. He's on pace. Every 8 games, 11 RBIs, 162 game season. I mean, he's on pace to set the record for the most RBI in the history of Major League Baseball in one season. I think the record is Hack Wilson 140 in 1 year. Let's see if I know my baseball trivia in baseball history. Most RBI in a single season. I guarantee it's Hack Wilson.
By the way, he would be on pace for 223 RBI with that pace.
That's a record. You can't argue with the math. You just can't. That's what it is. The numbers don't lie.
Hack Wilson had 191 for the Cubs in 1930.
How many?
191.
I thought it was 140 was the record, but I got the guy right, so I had the number right. I apologize to Hack. I shortchanged him 51 RBI. How do you drive in that many runs? Are the bases loaded every time he comes up to the plate? And, usually...
You got a lot of teammates getting on base in those situations.
Yeah. Well, and, usually a guy who if his name was Hack, you'd think he's just out there hacking away at it. It sounds like he knew what he was doing. So that's a lot of RBI. Goes on to say Twins could do no wrong against Scherzer in the 3rd inning. Clemens connected on a low slider for a second homer of the season. They loaded the bases after 2 more singles and a walk. Then Wallner lined an RBI single to right field, and Victor Caratini, or is it Caratini? He's our catcher. He followed with a sac fly. Lefty reliever Joe Manipli comes in. He plunks Gray with the second pitch. Oh, I see what you're doing. Trying to send a message. You don't like Gray driving in runs. Strike him out then. Don't hit him with a pitch. Then Brooks Lee, who homered the last 2 days as a right-handed hitter against a lefty, shot a 2-run double down the left field line. The Twins have scored at least 7 runs in 4 of their past 7 games. And this was a lineup that I don't think I was the only one that questioned it. I really don't. I mean, we looked at that lineup and thought, you have one guy and he's streaky, and he doesn't play a lot. He's only had 2 seasons where he's played a lot of games. Byron Buxton. And then you saw Lewis is on 15-day IL again. Some type of, is it a hammy again or something? What was it? I don't even recall what it was. But he's got another one of those. Don't go to the weight room every day. I agree with you, Tennessee. And you're not the only person that said it. I think these guys overtrain, where every muscle and tendon is just so tight. They just stop it, man. Babe Ruth used to drink beer and eat hot dogs while he was out on the field. For crying out loud. As you mentioned, Tennessee, Bradley wasn't really that sharp. He had trouble commanding his pitches, throwing 106 pitches to complete 5 innings, but still he's been a really nice addition for the Twins coming by way of trade. So there we go.
How had I never heard of Hack Wilson before?
Yeah. I don't know.
I feel like that's a name I should have known.
Yeah, and a hell of a ball player, obviously. We'll break. We'll come back with a little Diss That Lot here on the Common Man program on The Fan.
KFAN welcomes some great shows to Grand Casino Arena in the next year, including Lionel Richie and Earth, Wind, and Fire on June 24th. Tickets are on sale now. Get the complete details on all our upcoming shows on the concert page at KFAN.com, keyword calendar.
Something I found really interesting tended to be about cottage cheese. As you and Rosen have attested to, that tomatoes taste better in Italy, cottage cheese tastes better in Cottage Grove. And I don't know why that is.
In a cottage in Cottage Grove.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
In a cottage in Cottage Grove, it just tastes so much better that way. Someone says, or it's actually a question on the Bradshaw and Bryant KFAN text line. Should we be listening for garbage can drumming in the Twins dugout? Could they have taken a page out of Houston Astros?
The success they're having against some of the best pitchers in baseball, you can't rule it out.
I don't think you can rule it out, so I'll be listening for that. And they play Boston tonight. I think they're still at home.
Yeah.
I think there were a lot of us, including myself, that looked at the schedule and said, I think the Twins had like 16 games at home in April. It's like, do the schedule makers realize what kind of weather we have up here in April? I mean, we had those first few games were played in like 32-degree weather. But so far it's served us well. And again, I've always said this. Part of it's the comfort of the fans. I mean, they're called the boys of summer for a reason. You're supposed to be able to go to a game and wear a short sleeve shirt and shorts, but mostly baseball, I just don't think it's played as high a level as if you got guys. I mean, you see them all. They're all in what are those called? Balaclavas? You know what I'm talking about? Those ski masks.
Huh?
That where you can just see what Meat Sauce and I wear when we do Flop, Sweat, and Tears, because we're stealing from the comedy goers. I think they're called balaclavas. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Sure.
No, but seriously, do you know what?
I don't know what a balaclava is, but you explained it looking like a ski mask, so that now I understand.
Yeah, I just don't know if that's the right pronunciation. It's something like that. Baklava. Nick Bavacqua used to be a baseball player, played for a lot of different teams.
I never have hit a baseball with a wooden bat, but back in the day playing baseball with the aluminum bats and you get jammed when it was cold out and the thing would just start vibrating in your hands. Oh, that was the worst.
You've never
No.
swung a wooden bat?
No.
Now, I know you're younger, but I still find that strange. That's weird. Of course, and you know what? I bet you've never swung a hickory shafted golf club either.
No, I have not.
Somebody Now, when I was growing up playing golf, I didn't play much golf. My dad played, but, they had the persimmon woods, right? A wood that was, that's why technically you're supposed to call them fairway metals. It's not a 3-wood. There's no wood anywhere on that golf club, right?
Well, for me, you couldn't call it a fairway metal either.
Hold on. That's true. I think that's about the most accurate thing I think you've ever said in your
We call it maybe a rough metal.
Yeah. That was an accurate way of saying you're not very accurate.
Correct.
That's for sure. Then somebody else, this is controversial, Tenby.
That's interesting.
I don't know if I'm going to read this or not, but I'm going to. I prefer RBI in the plural like we grew up with. And we did grow up with RBIs. Tenby changed that. You changed that. You were until you started saying it's not runs batted ins, because that's what RBIs.
Yeah, RBIs.
Yeah, it's runs batted in.
It's RBI, not RBIs, not RBIS.
And I even, when you said it, I kind of went, oh, that's cute. And then I thought, he's really lost his mind. They think I'm crazy. But you're right. And now, have you noticed that's how it's every story you read, locally for sure, when they're talking about runs batted in, it says RBI. It says 2 RBI, 3 RBI. It doesn't say RBIs.
Now, that being said, I will disagree when it comes to this. Whenever they talk about the Minnesota Wild,
yeah,
like it'll say the Minnesota Wild is playing in Seattle tonight.
Oh, right.
And I get it, there's no S on the end.
Yeah.
But every other team in the league, you say
the Canadians are
Detroit
playing.
Red Wings are playing. The Canadians are playing. It doesn't sound right when you say the Minnesota Wild is playing.
I think you're right.
So I would go, even though it's against
proper English,
I would go with, you got to say R instead of is.
Well, it's the same way where think about this. I got in trouble at the radio station, was told to refrain from doing this. I always called it at Metrodome. I left off the. Because in my logic, when I was told, I'm not making this up. The program director comes to me and says, you need to stop saying at Metrodome. I go, huh? John Thomas, who was the station manager at the time, and then he went on to bigger and better things.
Yeah, he played on the 1997 Final Four team.
That's exactly right. He went on to be the general manager of the Houston Rockets.
Wow.
He was the one, the PD, Ginther said, he told you to stop saying, it's the Metronome, not Metrodome. I go, well, they don't say at the Fenway Park. They don't say at the Wrigley Field. They don't say at the Kezar Stadium.
At the Lambeau Field.
Yeah, they don't say that. So why do we have to say the Metrodome? It's wrong.
It doesn't say the Metrodome on it.
I was right.
You should have said Hubert H. Humphrey Metrodome is how you should have said it.
But at least just say it's Metrodome. It's not the Metrodome. Just like it's not the Yankee Stadium, the Tiger Stadium, the Camden Yards. And then it's like, you stick to being the station manager, I'll stick to doing the updates.
I miss the days when stadiums and arenas were named after cool things like that, as opposed to just sponsors.
I love sponsored stuff, though.
Well, there's that.
But you're right. No, I was. And I think some of them still keep the name, sort of, don't they? They should.
Not many, too many.
I mean,
obviously still Lambeau Field.
Yeah, but I think there's some. Yeah, Lambeau Field hasn't changed, but I think
and Soldier Field.
Hasn't it been? I thought they were doing stuff like, T-Mobile Stadium at Camden Yards. That's how I would say.
3M Arena at Mariucci.
Yes, that's the way I would do it. Then you please both. That's like I was told to don't call it the new Winter Park. Somebody over at Winter Park. Just tell the clown from Brown, the buffoon at noon, it's the TCO Performance. Well, it is, but I call them both. And I wanted to say, I said, send them a message saying you're disrespecting Max Winter, one of the original owners of the Vikings. So I saw this about the Timberwolves telling me. Now, this is like, again, so the last few games, the Wolves haven't had anything to play for.
Yeah.
Which the way they play doesn't look anything different than when they had games to play for, when there was meaning to them. But here's what I read. This was, I think, Fish Wrap, East or West or Athletic. It doesn't remember, because I didn't save the whole story. I just plucked these two lines out. One's a quote from Finch, but here's the lead up to it. There was an added benefit to the certainty with which the Wolves are facing these last games, It's a mental break for a team that has had an emotional season. What do you mean they've had an emotional season? What does that even mean? I'll read it again. There was an added benefit to the certainty with which the Wolves are facing these last games. It's a mental break for a team that has had an emotional season. That's Chris Finch said when asked if the mental break was welcome. Absolutely. And I think that that was just as important as anything else. Going into the last weekend of the season, having that certainty, it'll be good for the group, but we got to take full advantage of it. How has the season been emotional? It's been lackadaisical and just you've gone through the motions.
They haven't played with emotion.
They haven't played with any emotion. They've played like zombies. Wow, how could this see what was emotional about this season? There's nothing emotional about your season. But it's like, well, let's just make excuses for them. Instead of calling them out and saying, instead of treating the regular season like preseason, but they don't, and they never will. I read something else. I should have saved the quote. Somebody said it beautifully. Might have been local even. Something about really, maybe it was Royce. Somebody wrote basically said, the only reason we play these long seasons is for the money. That's it. It's all money. And it is. It's right. You just can't just go, let's have a 40-game season because then you lose 40 games of revenue. And that's fine. I don't think they should I wish they'd go to a little shorter season. But it's like, well, that's the reason why with the guaranteed dough and stuff, while sometimes the regular season games lack intensity. I want to see a hockey player or a football player or a baseball player, basketball player do the Medvedev thing. Was that his name? The tennis player that took his racket and slammed it on the court 7 times? Be mad. Be angry. I'm not going to take this anymore, right? Moose Eller, famous story. About as famous as Rosen's picture of him in the crowd at the World Series when he was 11 years old. It's a famous picture, Mark said. Was that the legend is that in that 1969 playoff game against the Rams at the old Metropolitan Stadium, the Rams were beating the Vikings. Carl Eller, Moose Eller, broke, one of those great big huge chalkboards, those big heavy ones that come into that you had at school that they'd roll in on wheels? He snapped that in half. It's just like, he was so angry at the team, that woke everybody up. Moose Eller just snapped that blackboard in half. You know how difficult that would be to do? And he did it. And the team came back and win. I mean, why is it? They showed no emotion. I found that, I don't know where the emotional season part comes out. I mean, a guy or two is injured and then, it's bad for the guy, but it happens for all the teams. They all have injuries. It's not abnormal. No, it's not abnormal. Matter of fact, going to that story from The Athletic today, that was a kind of a preview of the Nuggets Timberwolves, called an analysis, Nuggets versus Timberwolves, NFL playoffs preview, why this could be the best first round series. And says Nuggets beat Minnesota in 5 games in the first round in 2023, but the Timberwolves exacted revenge in the 2024 semifinals, winning in 7 games. So in other words, this is this is kind of a rubber match of the playoffs, right? Says this season, Denver won 3 of the 4 meetings against Minnesota, including an OT classic on Christmas Day that featured Joker recording a triple-double of 56 points, 16 boards, and 15 assists. Anthony Edwards scored 44 points. And then Jason Quick writes for The Athletic covering Denver, and John Krasinski, of course, the Wolves for the Athletic. And what Quick writes here is he says, can the Nuggets defend consistently? It says the Nuggets have been the NBA's top offense, but a bottom third defense. Looks like another team that doesn't like to put any effort into the defensive end of the floor. However, during the team's 12-game winning streak to close the season, Adelman, is he their coach? I think he is, right? Thought the Nuggets' defense defined the streak. He said, we flipped defensively at some point in all these games, meaning we've been inconsistent all year with that. At some point, you have to sit down and guard. And that leads to what we're really good at, fast break points. And then here's, they have injury issues. It says a factor in the Nuggets' defensive efforts will be the availability of perhaps their best perimeter defender, wing Peyton Watson, who has battled hamstring injuries this season. He hasn't played since April 1st when he aggravated his right hammy. That same hammy caused him to miss 19 games earlier in the season. Watson has started on-court workouts, but the Nuggets have not said if or when they expect him to return. If defense wins championships, if he's your best perimeter defender, I think I like the Wolves' chances more than I even did before. But then it talks about, I think he mentioned some other injuries. It says, where was I thought I saw another piece about some more injuries with Denver. But I did see these numbers by Joker. Here's what Quick writes. He predicts the Nuggets in 6. Why? He says, the Wolves haven't shown they can stop the world's best player. In the first game this season, he had 25 points, 19 boards, 10 assists. Second game, 27 points, 12 rebounds, 11 assists. Third game, 56 points, 16 boards, 15 assists. The fourth game, 35, 13, and 9. Only game he didn't
stopped him from the triple-double there.
Stopped him from the triple-double.
Now what do you think?
Yeah.
Joker.
The only triple-double he didn't get, then says to compliment Joker, Murray has had games of 43 and 35, and the only time Minnesota beat Denver this season, Gordon missed it because of injury. Now, again, that was then, this is now. That doesn't mean that what's happened in the past, but they have not been able to find an answer in 4 games against Joker. Krasinski, he's homering it up. He's doing a little bit of the Ducky and Bunny. He says the Wolves in 7. He says Timberwolves in 7. They will be the decided underdog, and they should be. It's been an up and down regular season that did not meet the lofty expectations they set for themselves, but they are healthy and rested.
Are they?
Well, and they have Edwards, who Denver has never been able to handle. So we can't handle Joker. They can't handle Ant. Most importantly, they believe they can beat the Nuggets because they've done it before. I think this series will be an absolute bloodbath from 2 teams that have played each other so much over the last 4 years, a playoff rubber match. I can't wait. In other words, what John Krasinski is saying, if he had the genie's bottle, right, and he rubbed it and the genie popped out and said, Master, you have 3 wishes, hopefully he'd be, I don't know if he's as quick on his feet as he used to be, but the first thing he'd say is, Genie, I want 3 more wishes. Now you got 5. And then your next one, John Krasinski would say, he wishes it was Saturday, 2:30 right now. He can't wait for the start of this matchup. And it should be good. What I do like, and I think you've said it happens in hockey too, and I've watched enough hockey. I haven't watched a lot of hockey in the past 30 years, but prior to that, when I watched hockey a lot, defense ramps up in postseason play, right?
Sure.
It gets a bit more physical. Players are willing to lay it on the line. Guys are in the training room. And it happens in basketball as well. I don't know what the average score of a regular season basketball game is, because I don't even know if they have, maybe median is better to look at it average. But, again, I think even the best defensive teams, even your Oklahoma City Thunder, there are probably times where the guy goes, just let him go by. He's got a pretty free lane to get to the basket. I'll just let him get the layup. We'll make it up on the other end of the floor. But once you get into postseason play, one defensive stand can make the entire difference in the game. That's where you see the score start to shrink. I mean, you'll even see some games, I think, maybe it doesn't happen anymore. I remember back in the olden days, back in the, what was the Pistons' nickname? The Bullies, the Bad Boys, whatever they were called in Chicago and Boston. Like, you would have games that would be like 90, 89. You didn't even break 100.
No.
You didn't, because teams were...
Well, they weren't chucking up threes all the time.
That's true.
Too,
that's true. But they were also playing really strong defense, too, given it everything they've got. So,
it's all running in threes. It was more of a half-court game back then, and
yes,
it takes some mid-range jumpers.
I think you're right, because the mid-range jumper has sort of been left by the the wayside. So we'll have to see how it goes. It also mentions here where Quick talks about the rim protection. Adelman said the Nuggets' on-ball defense will be key because the team's greatest weakness is the ability to defend at the rim. Joker and Jonas, that's the Valiant Sunni Lunius guy, are vertically challenged in the team's best leapers. Vertically challenged doesn't sound like a good asset to have. It's more of a we have assets and what is it? Debts, assets, and whatever I'm looking for. That doesn't seem good. And the team's best leapers, Watson, Spencer Jones, and Gordon are. Oh, here's where the injury thing is. So Joker and Jonas are vertically challenged, and the team's best leapers, Watson, Spencer Jones, and Gordon, are either injured or ending the season have their minutes monitored. So they sound like a beat-up team. And we know the Wolves have had their problems. So I read in here, as you heard, Krasinski thinks they're healthy now.
I feel like the Wild and Dallas are the same thing.
Really?
The Wild are going to be going into this series healthy because they're sitting all their top players tonight.
Yeah.
But Dallas, Heiskanen might not be available. He's their best defenseman. They got a couple forwards that have been hurt and might not be ready, so they're going to have a couple guys missing.
Just watched Aladdin with my kids the other day, and the first rule of the genie is no asking for extra wishes. I was told that the late John Harris was an insurance salesman in town. He won the 1993 United States Amateur. He became a member at Augusta, Georgia. I ran into him on a tee box at the old guys tournament before it was called 3M. You know, the 3M, they before 3M Open became 3M Open, the 3M was also hosting an old guys tournament. Before that, it was the Coldwell Banker Burnett Senior Classic, and it was held at Bunker Hills before there even was a TPC. So I go up to John. I go, John, Dan Cole coming. Oh, yeah, coming. How you doing? I go, great. I go, anytime you need a fourth at Augusta. And he kind of tipped his head back. Yeah, keep it in mind. Ran into Jason Tillett, who was a longtime head professional up at Isaides. We were talking once about something. He goes, yeah, one thing I heard about Harris is that if you ever bring up going to Augusta, you have no chance to go. Which I had no chance to go anyways. But
you're shooting your shot.
Yeah. And so the same thing. If I ask the genie for a third, for more wishes, can I have?
It's like if I ever win the Powerball, don't ask me for money.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
If you ask me, I'm not going to get it to you.
Yeah. I got that. My brother said the same thing. His spiel was great. He said he would do it because unless the rule has changed, it has to be if you accept the money, you have to do a press conference. He'd say, you know what? I want to thank everybody. And you know what? I'm going to be very generous with my money. I'm going to give some to charities and blah. But if you try to contact me in any way, shape, or form, phone call, text message, email, message in a bottle, carrier pigeon, you're out. So don't reach out to me or you're out. That's the best way to do it. I do too. We'll break, return with one more segment to go. It's assets and liabilities is what I was looking for. One last break, and then we'll come back with, we'll go to break and come back with one more hour here on the Common Man program on the Fan.